Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. How are all the brothers and sisters doing? MashaAllah. Good, good. Alhamdulillah. Bismillah walhamdulillah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So, the subject that we're covering today is modesty, haya, and gender etiquettes in Islam. Alhamdulillah, this is a interesting topic in itself. The Messenger ﷺ said that Iman has more than 70 branches. And the highest most is to say La ilaha illallah. And the least is to remove a article, some item, some rock, some stone, something from the way that might harm the people, which is known as imatatul adha anit tariq. And then he said, and modesty, haya, is a branch of faith. Modesty, haya, is a branch of faith. So from this we understand, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned what? He said that Iman has more than 70 branches. And he told us the two extreme, or the two ends of it, which was the saying of La ilaha illallah, and the least most is to remove a harmful object from the way, from the road. And then he mentioned specifically, distinctly, haya, because of its importance. And he said that haya is a branch of faith. Subhanallah. Haya is so important that if haya is lost, the scholars say that if you do not have haya, then do what you wish. If you don't have haya, then do what you wish. And this can have different interpretation. One interpretation of it is that if you have lost your haya, right, then khalas, you're done. As a good human being, as a good Muslim, leave outside a good Muslim, even as a good human being, you're not, do whatever you wish after that, because then there is no morality left in you. There is no goodness which is left in you. And another interpretation of this is that if the thing that you're about to do, you being a person of haya, you being a person of good haya, if the thing that you're about to do, if it is not putting you in any type of shame, then this is a sign that that thing in itself is not bad. Meaning, how do you check that what you're doing, is it correct for you to do, or is it incorrect for you to do? Ask yourself, do you feel haya to do it? Do you feel a certain shame to do it? If you feel a certain shame to do it, then don't do it. Why? Because that means that there's something which is not right about it. So stay away from it. And if you're not feeling any shame and modesty in doing that thing, that means that that thing is good in itself. There's nothing wrong with it. So go ahead and do it. And when we study Islam, we find many rules with regards to haya. Now these ahkam, when one abides by these ahkam, naturally a person keeps their haya and develops their haya. And when these limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are not observed, slowly but surely the haya is lost. The haya is lost. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran to say to the believing men that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, say to the believing women that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty. In other words, naturally, there is a certain amount of attraction between the two genders. This is just natural. This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. Therefore, the Sharia has placed certain restrictions and certain laws and certain guidelines that we should follow. Why? So that a person must not involve himself in those things which will lead to the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it begins first and foremost with the eyes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that you should guard your eyes, right? Guarding your eyes, one of the major things, right? If we can guard our eyes from watching things which are inappropriate, then we have preserved the nur of our ibadat within our hearts. For example, you have a pocket, and in your pocket you put coins, or you put money, or you put $100 bills, right? But the bottom of your pocket is cut. What is going to happen? Those coins are gonna go. No matter how much ever you put, it's gonna fall out and it's gonna go out. So in the time of when we are doing ibadat, especially in Ramadan or any time of the year, the good deeds that we are doing, these good deeds that we are doing, they are our earnings. How do we preserve these earnings of ours? That is to guard our eyes. When a person doesn't guard his eyes or her eyes, then that nur, which is created through ibadat, is then slowly and slowly lost. Slowly and slowly lost. So there is the earning of nur, and there is the protection or preservation of that nur. And that is through guarding our eyes. In fact, guarding all our limbs, guarding our ears, guarding our hands. The Prophet ﷺ said that if you give me a guarantee of 2 organs, I will give you a guarantee of Jannah. That which is between the jaws and that which is between the limbs. When if a person can guarantee these 2, most of the sins take place from what? From these 2 organs. That which is between the thighs and that which is between the jaws. Right? The backbiting, the lying, the cheating, the cursing, all the bad things happening from the tongue and from the private parts. And to guard these 2, the Prophet ﷺ is giving us guarantee of Jannah, of paradise. Now that's something amazing. That's something amazing. In fact, when we guard our limbs, especially our tongue, and these 2 limbs, or these 2 organs, what happens? Our whole body comes right. Similarly, the Prophet ﷺ says that there's a piece of flesh in the body. If that comes right, the whole body comes right. And if that is corrupted, the whole body has become corrupted. And the Prophet ﷺ said that indeed, it is the heart. So guarding certain organs of the body, or looking after certain organs of the body, will result in what? In the preservation of the complete deen of a person, and the preservation of the complete character of a person. And misuse and misguarding of such will lead to destruction of the whole character of a person. Now, as far as the laws are concerned, we will get into some of the laws and rules and the technicalities. But what is important for us to understand and remember is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created men and has created women with special distinct qualities, special distinct features, special distinct works that they are created for. And in the society that we live in, there is a great effort to say that men and women, they should be equal. They should be equal in what? In everything, right? But if you look at this biologically and just observation, you see that this is not possible. The two genders have been created differently. They have different characteristics. They have different strengths. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created them differently to complement one another and to establish a healthy, wholesome society. When this is not observed, then society goes upside down. Society goes upside down. When men are taking the role of women and women are taking the role of men, right? Then society becomes upside down. But rather, men and women are equal before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That they are both placed on earth for the ibadat and the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has honored both the men and women to be His representatives on earth, to establish goodness on earth, and to eradicate evil from earth. This responsibility has been equally given to men, they have been equally given to women. It is not that the women have not been given this responsibility, or the men have not been given this responsibility. The responsibility of enjoining good, Amr bil Ma'ruf, and Nahi anil Munkar, is given to men and women together. The responsibility of seeking knowledge and preserving knowledge and teaching knowledge, right, has been given to both men and women. But historically, if you look at it, and Islamically, if you look at it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given certain roles for the women and for the men. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Ali radiallahu anhu married Fatima radiallahu anha, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave them advice and divided the work, and gave to Ali radiallahu anhu the work of the outside. In other words, he was supposed to go and work and earn and so forth. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the works of the house to Fatima radiallahu anha, that she should look after the activities of the house and the work of the house. Now this is a very balanced system. In what happened in the few decades, you can say, or few centuries, you can say, that this norm was destroyed. This was something which was across the board in Muslim countries, in non-Muslim countries, Christian world, Jewish world, Muslim world, around the world. The women, they would look after the affairs of the home, and the men, they would be out in the world, and they would be looking after the affairs of earning and so forth and so on. And society and families were preserved. The children, they had their parents, they had their mother at home. The akhlaq and the tarbiyat of the children were done. And all of that was removed. When by this propaganda that no, woman needs to be shoulder to shoulder, side to side with men in every single field. And they were brought out of the home. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for them to reside in their homes. Now this doesn't mean it's haram for them to leave the house. It doesn't mean it's haram for them to leave the house. It doesn't mean it's haram for them to pursue some of their works, or even for recreation, for women to go out. But the normal place, the place where the sisters are supposed to, the arena of their field is in the family structure, is that they should stay within the home, and the men, they should be out. Now, the Prophet ﷺ has also taught us that a woman, when she's traveling, she should not travel without her mahram, the distance of 3 days and 3 nights. That if she's traveling the distance of 3 days and 3 nights, there should be either her husband with her or a mahram, meaning mahram is somebody that she can permanently not get married to ever, like a brother, like a father, like a son. A mahram should be traveling with her. Now this is the protection for her, this is the protection for society, right? This is part of haya. This is that modesty. A woman is just traveling and going far places, everywhere, and anything can happen to her, right? But with the presence of a mahram or her husband, then she is protected and she's preserved. The Prophet ﷺ teaches us that if a man and a woman were to be alone with one another, the third person amongst them would be what? Would be shaitan, would be the devil. A man and woman, if they're alone with one another, the third person is the shaitan. And because of this, because there is this natural attraction, and because of the presence of shaitan, therefore, to the best of our abilities, see private connection and private talking and private you can say connection with the opposite gender should not be done, or it should be limited to very little amount. If we need to contact, sometimes brothers and sisters at MSA, they're having programs together, they're establishing dini programs together, sometimes there needs to be some contact. It should be done in such a contact in which the brother and the sister are not just contacting each other alone, but rather they're contacting each other with, right, a group call. They're contacting each other through a group email. Everybody, there's a CC of everybody else, all the other brothers and all the other sisters. And this is the safe route. Now the brothers and sisters are not talking, the brother and sister are not talking alone with one another. They're talking initially about the Islamic activities, and pretty soon it can lead to other things. So shaitan does not need a license. So from this we understand that in the same way that a man and woman should not stay alone with one another and be alone with one another in private. Because what? The shaitan and the devil will be. In the same way, they shouldn't be just talking with each other alone too, calling each other alone too, and just speaking for hours and minutes alone too. But rather, they should limit that. If there's a need for that, that's fine. If there's an absolute need to discuss a matter, a brother and sister speak about something. But the best is to do group calls. Best is to have to group chats if need be. So the interactions should be limited. The interactions should be limited. And if the interaction is taking place, it should be done in a public manner. It should be done in a public manner. By doing so, the shaitan its influence is reduced. Furthermore, with regards to the hijab of a man and hijab of a woman, like I said, the hijab is not just for the woman, but it's also for the man. The hijab for the man is that he must guard his eyes, right? And he must guard, and the hijab of the woman is her whole, from head to toe, she must be covered. And this is part of her hijab, right? So, inshallah ta'ala, let me open the discussion to question and answer. And I think that through that, many of the things that you brothers might be wishing to know, you may ask and be aware of. So I'll open the session to question and answer. There's much we can speak about, gender relations, and even when a brother and sister would like to get married with one another, right? How do they go about doing so? Do they just, let's go for a date? Is that the way? Obviously it's not, right? But how do they get to know each other, right? You can't just close your eyes and shoot in the dark and hopefully you're gonna hit the mark, right? There has to be some amount of getting to know the opposite gender. That is this the right person for me to get married to? Because if not, then we know that all the doors of hell opens up, right? When the two people are just completely not compatible, and then fighting and divorce, and families are fighting and whatnot. To avoid all of that, there should be a good amount of communication that should be done prior to the marriage. Like, who is this person? What is their deeni level? What type of deen do they want to practice? They just want to, keep a very, nowadays there's different terminologies. Okay, what type of a religious person are you? Are you extreme? Are you moderate Muslim? Are you liberal Muslim? The different type of titles we have made. What is this extreme Muslim and moderate Muslim and liberal Muslim? There's no such thing. There's only one Muslim. There's only one Islam. There's no such thing as an extreme Islam. There's no such thing as a moderate Islam. And there's no such thing as a liberal Islam. It's Islam or other than Islam, right? If it's Islam, that's something that everybody has to follow. There's no such thing as a liberal Islam. Liberal version of Islam and a moderate version of Islam, an extreme version of Islam. There's no such thing like that. Islam is one Islam. So, but the two genders, they need to know each other. They need to get to know each other. They need to understand each other's level of deen and the practice of deen and how much and other things of life, right? Their interests, their goals, where they want to be in 5 years, 10 years, what are their life goals, these things. So the scholars historically, and this is what Sharia is, that a man and woman, the parents would talk with one another, right? One of the things that indicated towards the haya of a woman, look at this is in the books of fiqh, that how would you know that when the proposal comes from for a certain woman, for a certain girl, if she is happy with the proposal. If she is happy with the proposal. One of the signs that the fuqaha mention is that when the parents, the mother or whatever, tells the girl that such and such a person from such and such a family by the name of such and such a guy has proposed for your hand, do you accept? Do you accept? If the girl, she does not oppose and reject, and she just keeps quiet, she just keeps quiet. She doesn't say no. She doesn't say anything. She just keeps quiet. This is a sign that she is happy, because this is her haya. It's her haya that she's not saying that yes, hip hop hooray, let's do it. But rather, it is her haya that she's what? She's not even able to say yes. She's not able to say, go for it, or I'm ready. Now where have we come to? Understand? All the dealings are already done. Before the parents even find out, all the dealings are done between the girl and the guy and the family of the guy or the girl. Understand? And then the parents are just notified. Parents are just notified. Khush ho ya khush nahi ho. You're happy or you're not happy? With you or without you? With you or without you? With your blessings or without your blessings? Forever together, this bond will be made. Right? But what happens a lot of times, forever together, that this bond will be made, will be a very temporary bond, because of the inexperience and lack of wisdom, sometimes of youth. So nonetheless, there is a process of that as well. I'm saying traditionally, the parents would meet, the father of the girl would seek a suitable husband for the daughter. The father of the son would, or the parents of the son would seek a suitable wife for the son, for their son. And they would be doing this. And this is also a lack of our haya, that today we consider it against our izzat and honor. That me being the father of the girl, how can I look for a husband? How can I look for a son-in-law for myself? How can I seek a proper marriage for my daughter? This is against my izzat. This is against my honor, right? This is the misunderstanding of izzat and honor. That seldom you will find a Muslim family where the parents of the girl are seeking they're seeking openly a husband for their daughter. They consider that this is against izzat, this is against our honor, this is against our manliness. But this is not the case. Umar radiallahu anhu, right? He sought a husband for his daughter Hafsa radiallahu anha, right? And that's why the famous story in which he went to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and said that, would you like to marry my daughter? And Abu Bakr anhu kept quiet. And he went to Uthman radiallahu anhu, that would you like to marry my daughter? These are friends, right? They're friends, but they're so open with one another. And this is the greatest. Can anybody have more ghairah than Umar radiallahu anhu? Look at the ghairah that Umar, look at the manliness that Umar had. But he's not shy of trying to seek a proper match for his daughter, right? So he goes to Uthman radiallahu anhu, he gives an excuse. And why they did not accept, or why they gave an excuse, was because the Prophet ﷺ had indicated to Abu Bakr that he intends to marry Hafsa radiallahu anha. And so therefore they would not disclose the secret of the Prophet ﷺ, so therefore they didn't say yes. So this shows that there's a duty that the parents have of the girl's side of the family and the guy's side of the family, and they must fulfill this, and they must not be shy, because if they don't fulfill this, then a girl and a guy will be forced to, take things in their own hands. But sometimes two individuals, whether they meet at work or school or college or wherever, may develop some type of interest in one another, and they want to get to know one another and perhaps, see if things may work out and see where it goes. So that is also allowed in Islam under certain guidelines, right? Not just a prolonged talking, okay, let's just talk and talk and talk and, get to know each other and get to know each other and get to know each other. And that type of a relationship carries on for months and years. And that type of getting to know each other turns into love. And then that love turns into other things. And Allah knows if the marriage ever happens or not, the parents oppose or not. And now these two individuals, they have gone too far with each other. And now they don't know what to do. The parents are against the relationship. The parents are against the relationship. But they have already developed deep love for one another. but the parents are saying over my dead body. Either one of the parents on one side or both sides are saying over my dead body you're going to marry that person. They're not from our culture. They don't speak our language. They don't cook the nice biryani food that we are accustomed to. They don't speak our language, or they speak our language but they don't speak our dialect. Understand? Ajib things that our communities have, right? So therefore, proper procedure is extremely important. So I'll open the thing to question and answer. I hope I have touched on some of the important things that you guys were seeking and looking for in the discussion, inshallah ta'ala. I don't know if I drove away all the sisters except one. I don't know if my talk was too heavy. All the sisters, they left. But to begin with, we only had 2 sisters and one of them left. So maybe she had some class to go to, inshallah ta'ala. Yes. So I'll open questions to sisters, brothers, anybody, inshallah ta'ala. Feel welcome. If you have a circumstance, you have to work. Yeah, see, the thing is that it's not haram for the woman to go, because what we're saying is the norm of society should be that the mothers should be at home and the father should be outside. Because if the father and the mother are out working, understand, what happens to the children? The children are now left to babysitters, they're left to other people, they're left to the television, they're left, their akhlaq, their tarbiyah, their deen, everything is destroyed, right? So a proper balance is with when one of the parents are at home and the other one is working, all right? And that usually the norm of society should be that the father should be working and the mother should be at home, and that is the beauty of it. Why? Because when a woman is going outside, right, and then all types of other things can happen. But this doesn't mean it is haram for her, because though a woman, Shariat, Islam has made it such that she does not have to pay one bill from the time she is born in this world until the time she leaves this world, right? Because until she is in her father's house, the father has to pay all her bills. And the moment she gets married, her husband has to pay all the bills. Understand? And if she gets old, then her sons and her daughters, her children have to pay all the bills. Understand? So the women, they have it made in Islam. It is only the Western society that they are trying to put undue pressure on the sisters and making them work so hard and laboriously. In Islam, we are very progressive. This is a progressive religion. We say that keep these precious human beings, understand, do not put too much burden on them so that they could stay young and beautiful for the rest of their lives, and they could cook nice food for us, and they could always remain happy and joyful for us, and give us the best relationship as far as a happy family. So, but at times a situation comes where a woman needs to work and she needs to have a career, then that is not forbidden in Islam, but that can happen, that can take place, and that is fine, but it should be done with proper hijab and proper laws of the Sharia. Yes, brothers, any questions? Yes, brother Mahmoud. Baraka fikum.
So I think it's a very valid argument that we are at time in terms of the question of mixing between the genders, whether it be in the masjid or some event or function or something like that. And I think it is a very valid argument where somebody will say, well, at school or at our work, especially living here in like Western society, this mixing, it happens. And it happens
Openly.
Yeah, openly. So essentially you go to a class, you're sitting next to girls, you could be in a group project.
And when you come to the masjid, there's a big wall.
Yeah, exactly. So so that's the question. And then why is it that even though we put up with it outside, then why do we put these restrictions in the masjid or the MSJid?
You see, the thing is that there's two things. One extreme that we have gone to in the Muslim world is that you come around the masjid, there's not even a place for the sisters. Understand? If a sister needs to pray, bechara, she would rather go, she pray on the streets or on the shore or something like that, on the beachfront. I was in Durban with my family, and we needed to pray. And the masjids over there, they don't have open accommodations for the sisters, and so it was easy. It was like for me to have somebody, we would have to go over, make a lot of arrangements for them to open up some room or some place for the sisters to come and pray. And so it would be easier for my family to just pray at the shore, at the beach, or somewhere else, than to go to the masjid. So one extreme that the ummah has gone to is that no place for the woman in the masjid, not even a proper accommodation for them, not a proper wudu area, not a proper room for them, and if there is, it's probably not in the best of conditions, right? The water, the situation, the cleanliness is not in the best of conditions. That's one extreme. The other extreme that has come, and I think this is more like in the Western world, in the Western countries, where you have integrated masajid, where brothers and sisters are just, sitting side to side and just joking and laughing and interacting with one another, just openly, right? That's another extreme. Now, in the Prophet ﷺ's time, the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ did not have a wall between the men and the women. There was no wall between the men and the women. The Prophet ﷺ gave guidance that the men should be in the front rows, then the children should be in between, and then the women should be in the back rows, right? So the woman had access to the masjid, and the Prophet ﷺ himself distinctly and clearly said, do not prevent the female slaves of Allah, the female servants of Allah, from the houses of Allah. And practically we have done that, right? Not by words, but our practical way, that we have not provided proper accommodation for them, and we have not given proper open thing for them. Now the sisters, they come to the masjid, they cannot see the khatib, they cannot see the speaker, and they don't have an opportunity to ask questions directly, and these type of things, which discourages, I think, a number of sisters and the women folk from coming to the houses of Allah and getting a spiritual connection with the house of Allah and with the scholars and benefiting from them. But at the same time, we have to also understand that the times during the time of the Prophet ﷺ was different than now. In that time, the women were extremely, the society was on a very high level of taqwa. That was one thing. And the women would not only just wear hijab, they would also cover their faces. They would also cover their faces. So it was if that the covering was not not as a wall, but it was over their faces. And so the amount of taqwa and haya and thing, there was not a border wall, there was not a like that, but the men and women did not interact in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ openly with one another, right? The sisters stayed to their area, the men stayed to their area, right? The haya was there. Nowadays, once you remove, if you don't have a wall, what happens a lot of times is that just open interaction takes place. So there is a middle point that we need to come to, and that is that I believe that we should have more accommodations for our sisters in our masjid. We should definitely have more accommodation, make them feel more comfortable. Because everywhere else we are going openly, you come out of the masjid and there's, everywhere else, but when it comes to the masjid, where it's a place of spirituality and for them to learn the deen and for them to be part of, connected with the house of Allah and the Quran, there we're putting extreme restrictions upon them. I think rather we should try to lighten up on that. Definitely there should not be an open interaction, right? So definitely there should be some type of a segregation. Now this word segregation may sound very strong because of apartheid and all this. We're not talking about that type of segregation, right? A segregation which is an honorable segregation. The sisters should be in their area, the brothers should be in their area, perhaps some bookshelves in between, understand, where they're able to still see the khatib and understand they can still ask questions, and there is still some, like that. But at the same time, right, that there is no like, just free mixing taking place. Islam does not allow free mixing of the genders. Why? Because when free mixing happens, free mixing leads to all types of other haram things. Because like I said, there is a natural attraction between the men and the women. And so free mixing leads to relationships. I think she likes me and I think he likes me and this and that, and getting to know her and getting to know him, and crushes and then love affairs and all types of other interesting things take place. So therefore, I mean, it's understandable why certain countries of the world, the border walls were put, so to say. But at the same time, I feel that if we go back to the way it was in the Prophet ﷺ's masjid, I think this is the best for the ultimate spirituality of the society, the ultimate spirituality of our sisters, and for the ultimate spirituality of our brothers. That we should go back to how it was in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, the way it was. So we will then encourage the sisters to wear a face covering, which is known as the niqab, right? So the scholars say that the face niqab is also mandatory and wajib. There are some scholars that say it's not mandatory, it's not wajib, but there is a strong opinion that says that the face of a woman is also part of her hijab. Just like she's covering the rest of her body, she should also cover her face and just leave her eyes open. So, but that again is left to a what? To the individual. So see, that is not happening. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, all the women, they had their faces covered, right? So you can understand how the evolution of the wall took place in our masajid around the world, right? So, but I think the ideal is the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. That is the best way to regain the spirituality in our sisters, because unfortunately, if you see in those countries where the sisters are not attending the masjid and there's no place for them, the sisters, their spirituality level is much lower. The brothers sometimes having beers and they're having, mashallah, doing all these amazing things. The sisters, they're into Hollywood and Bollywood. Because there's no opportunity for them. Where are they supposed to learn their deen? Right? There's not that many female teachers and scholars to teach them anyways, right? And so, and you prevent them from the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you build a nice wall, understand? Khalas. So, there's a balance to everything. Now, some may agree with me, some may disagree with me, but if you have a better solution, please share with me. Yes. Any other questions, comments, concerns? You have a question and the brother has a question. Yes. Right. Yes. For the from the daughter side.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then that leads it gets to the point where like people are trying to take it from.
Right.
Is there like
Guidelines?
is there a way around that, you think?
Well, they say you can break idols, but you can't break the thinking of people. You cannot penetrate the thinking of people. Some people are very hard-headed, understand? And so now, how are you going to change that type of mentality? In the new generations, we can make that mentality. We need to make that mentality. We need to make that mentality in the new generations. That this is izzat and honor. If you have more ghairat than Umar radiallahu anhu, if you don't have more ghairat than Umar radiallahu anhu, then why are you acting you're so ghairat? And then your daughter or your sister is walking around without hijab, without a husband, and it's not against ghaira that she's, going to places inappropriate, but it's ghaira for you to seek a proper spouse for her or, for your daughter. So it's the mentality that needs to change with education and with the right approach. But like I said, sometimes the parents are like that from, back home thinking. Therefore, sometimes the brothers, sisters, they need to do something themselves. So there's ways around it. They may know other sisters, right? They can contact their friends and their sisters and say, look, I'm interested in getting and finding a religious dini spouse so that I can fulfill my obligation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? The brothers can do the same thing. They can contact their sisters, right? We all have sisters and brothers and cousins, right? So going through your cousins and going through your sisters and going through your brothers, you find a suitable spouse for yourself. Understand? This is a good way. And then you have the online option. The thing with the online option is you just don't know who you're meeting. Understand? They're telling you all the nice, beautiful things, but on the other side, it could be the badmash number one. Understand? Badmash is like, like a...
I guess a follow-up question would be that, because I know, like, close friends who are married, I don't really agree with the way they get to know each other.
Yes.
And, but the families make it so difficult so that if you were to propose or were to ask, it's almost as if it's like either take it or leave it sort of situation. And it's like they feel almost obliged to either, if they do ask, that they have to go all the way. There's no sort of middle ground. So again, like,
There is no easy way out. After you came in, there is no easy way out. You either go with the daughter or you're gonna get shot.
and I also deal with like very close friends of mine.
They went on a dating spree.
They did it in ways where I feel like it seems inappropriate, but also I had no advice to give them because I didn't know a way around.
So that's what I'm saying, that there is some level of flexibility that is there for the two people to get to know each other, right? And to exchange certain of their ideas and their thoughts and their lifestyles and what they want to do in life, and ask each other's question. And if need be, if the two individuals want to even speak to each other on the phone, they can also do that better if there is a third, fourth person as a group call and they're talking to each other. Sometimes some people feel that, okay, I'm not comfortable with speaking with other people around. Then maybe some type of meeting can be established where, like, the two individuals are, like, let's say for example, they're sitting there and they're having a discussion, and the chaperones that has come with them, they're just like in the vicinity. They're seeing them, right? But they're not able to hear their discussion and conversation. I think this is one good way, just like, have from her side, maybe she can, come with, her, cousin or brother or somebody, or if it's not possible from the males, then maybe from the sisters, she can come with, one, two of her friends, and from the guy side, some, and then they can just kind of like be, maybe the chaperone of from the guy side can be here, and from the sister side can be on that side. So they're not meeting with each other, right? And these two are just kind of like meeting each other somewhere in between, and they're just sitting across the table with one another, and they're just having a respectful conversation with one another. I think this is better than just speaking on the phone for hours and hours and hours, all alone during the day, during the night, and all types of giggling is taking place, and laughter, and getting to know each other, and jokes, and subtle remarks and stuff like that, and it leads to other things, right? Better than that, just to do it openly. See, Shariat of Islam is, whatever you're doing, do it openly, do it properly. Understand? Do it openly, do it properly. Understand? Alhamdulillah, have a meeting, let the brother or sister meet with one another and talk with one another, and speak to one another. You guys are pursuing a halal life, right? It's not a haram thing, so why be shy about it and hide about it? Yeah, there's sometimes other reasons why people don't want to make it public, because they feel like, okay, if I get rejected, or I reject the other person, then it's gonna, have like a bad reaction, and so you have to be creative and figure out it. Be creative and figure out ways that you can do what you need to do, keeping the shaitan out. And remember, shaitan will always be there when things happen alone. So avoid doing it alone, and inshallah the shaitan will, to the best of ability, shaitan will be less influential over you. And you're alone and you do this, whether it's alone doesn't mean just being physically alone with it. Even speaking on the phone is kind of alone, So try to avoid the alone contact. Inshallah. Yes, Brother Mahmoud.
So in terms of like pursuing engagement or a marriage, so is it a valid reason to keep some sort of level of privacy away from the community for that reason that you said, in case things?
Obviously. Yes. A level of privacy should be kept, because then there's so many angles. People may be jealous. Understand? You may want to marry this person, and somebody else want to marry that person, and you open you make it public, then things can go not in the right direction that you want it to go. So always keeping your matters, secret is better. But secret doesn't mean nobody finds out. Understand? Secret means that two people that you trust and she trusts, let them kind of, be the chaperones, and then these two individuals meet, and those other two groups of people are like, one on one side, one on the other side. They don't have to meet each other, and these two people can sit and just have a discussion. Understand? Have a discussion and talk with one another. Or maybe do a group call and then the third person mutes himself. I don't know. I don't know. You guys are the college experts, so you guys know all the techniques. Yes.
Maybe as a follow-up question, I think it happens where two people are pursuing inshallah marriage, but then things don't work out for whatever reason. So in a situation like that, and maybe they went all the way through, for example, all the way through engagement, and they were engaged for a while, and then the engagement got broken. So how
they were engaged with their parents' approval?
Course, parents' approval and everything, but by the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, things didn't work out. So how should those two individuals after that sort of deal or interact with one another, especially if they're in the same community?
And they have to listen to sad songs and just have cry tears. Excuse me, I have a things don't work out, we have to understand it's the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we shouldn't get too attached with somebody until they are in the marriage. And my advice is, even when you're married, don't get too attached, because you don't know how long that marriage is going to last. Take it easy, you understand? People get too emotional with one another, and then things don't work out, and then khalas, they're like, life is over for them. Take everything easy. Just give your heart to Allah and the Prophet ﷺ, and everybody else, alhamdulillah, slowly, ahista, ahista. When you grow old with them, then love them, inshallah, Before that, take it easy, because, a lot of people get hurt, right? So, that's his personal, advice I'm saying. But, divorce happens, separation happens, things don't work out. We always have to understand that it's the qadr and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever is best from Allah, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided, we should be submitting to that. And, sometimes something doesn't work out, and then later on that opens the door for something much better, right? Sometimes a divorce happens, it's a bad thing, but ultimately where those two individuals end up, both of them end up in a much better relationship for themselves, and both of them are much more happy, right? So that divorce that happened initially, which was a bad thing, was actually a good thing, because they ended up leaving that relationship and ended up in a very excellent relationship, right? Yes, brother.
Oh yeah, so actually just one tip.
I thought it was going to be crowded with the sisters in this gender relations. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yes.
How important is that in a marriage?
What?
I used to actually be love this person.
To be actually what?
To actually love this person. Because I've heard from married couples, who've been married 16, 17 years, that it's don't get attached to anybody. Leave your heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because even the spouse that you're married to, even the children that you have, they're human themselves, and so they're going to disappoint you, they're going to hurt you. And
95% of marriage, there's no love in it anymore. No, you're supposed to love. That's not. You're supposed to love your spouse. You're supposed to love your children. Don't take my jokes, seriously. Understand? You're supposed to love your spouse. You're supposed to love your children. But everything should be done in a moderate way. Don't make their love above the love of Allah, and don't get super attached with them, because Allah could take them away from you, right? Just keep everything under control. I hope you guys are all satisfied, benefited from the talk. Inshallah ta'ala.